Okay, guys, we're good to start. Welcome everyone on this beautiful course of Firewall Mastery 5 in 1. And of course, last day I also told you about the modules into it. So we are going to start checkpoint. It started yesterday itself. We had a good session, I believe. 14 Jan, we'll be starting with Palo Alto. 28 Jan, Cisco ASA, FTD. 25th Feb, we will start with the Fortigate firewall. And on 4th March, we will start with the F5 load balancers. So that is the course outline along with the times as such. And I believe, I have already shared the contacts, the details of WhatsApp and all the numbers, email IDs. If you have any more queries related to the course, again, I'm Akhil. I believe you guys know me since yesterday, but just for new people coming in, I have around 8 years of experience. I've been working for various MNCs and system integrators where I've actually gone and deployed, a lot of security solutions, including Checkpoint, other firewalls, as well as things like, IPS, EDR, SIM, SOC related solutions. As far as the certifications are concerned, I have done my Checkpoint, CCNA. I've been certified on McAfee and IBM QRadar SIEM as well. From the process perspective, I've completed my ITIL also. And yes, this is going to be the course agenda. We discussed briefly on this as well yesterday. Right from the basic, right? I mean, right from the theoretical part of why do we need the firewall until the advanced configuration of Checkpoint, which will include uh, VPN configurations, clustering, uh, user identity awareness with an AD server installation, UTM features, HTTPS inspection, everything will be covered in depth. This is more related to checkpoint development. So we also discussed on this, how the checkpoint software version has evolved from the last version of R77.30. And then they had a major transition to a new architecture starting R80.10, and now R81.10 being the latest, but we are going to do all our labs based on R81 version, right? The latest one is still R81.10. So that's the idea. And of course, we also discussed more on checkpoint appliances. We did go through the data sheets as well for the different types of appliances that Checkpoint provides according to the needs and requirements of the customer based on scalability, capacity optimization. So there are various appliances. And then about the certification, as I said, you can start with the very basic one, which is CCSA, and then you can proceed to CCSE. Both of them are like $250 and 90 questions, 70% is the passing, multiple choice questions as well as simulations may come in. Then you have to go for CCSM, which is more related to a lab kind of a certification, as well as before that you have to complete a champion level certification for 2 of the products. Okay, so that's the idea. And then we had all these discussions. We discussed, why do we actually need a firewall? The prime answer being stateful inspection. What is stateful inspection? We saw all of this. The NGFW also provides a feature of UTM, wherein we have all the unified threat management. So when we say that, everything like, there is antivirus, URL filtering, data loss prevention, or sandbox analysis, all that is given to you on a single box. That's the idea about UTM, even the IPS thing. And then we also saw like which firewall we should consider. There are some industry-based reports which come out as a part of firewall evaluation, and we can use those reports to consider which firewall we should be buying, right? Of course, based on our requirements, based on a lot of things like budget, number of users or throughput and things like that, right? So that's the idea about which firewall to consider. And of course, I'll skip all these slides and probably go to the, and then we also had a console walkthrough. We did install one policy to give, very basic internet level access to one of the machines, right? So we saw that as well. We had a good walkthrough of this console yesterday. And this is the lab that we are going to, kind of simulate in the lab. So this covers, more or less everything. So when I say that everything, all my topics that I've put down in the course lab, right? So the idea is we will be doing a single firewall. So we will be doing a tier 2 kind of a setup. So I'll tell you what is tier 2 today. Okay. And then this is the management server. We will also do something related to, yeah. So we will also do a tier 3 installation over there. We'll also do tier 3 installation, which is like standalone and distributed. Tier 2 is also called as standalone. Okay. And this one is also called as distributed setup. Okay. So we are going to see both of them. We will also install one more firewall, which will be in the WAN segment. So this is like an office firewall. Okay. I have 2 offices, and then this firewall will be managed from this management server. So we'll see all the requirements of managing this firewall through this firewall, and what type of routing may be required, reachability may be required. We'll also install an AD server and provide access to the users created in this AD. Okay. So not only the IP addresses, but we'll actually give access to one of the usernames that will be created in the AD. We will also have like something, coming from outside to inside. That's a DMZ server access, your mails, your web servers, all that, right? So it requires incoming DMZ access. So we'll do that kind of setup. We'll do a site-to-site VPN. And of course, yesterday I told you that we will not be using, we'll be having one site as checkpoint over here, and the second site will be definitely Fortigate. Okay, so you have a flavor of 2 firewalls. So what we are going to do is, from this setup, we will try to access something behind a Fortigate. And of course, we are going to do a VPN site-to-site configuration on checkpoint as well as Fortigate. So that will be a part of this lab. And then we will also do a remote access VPN for the checkpoint. And so I will install a client over here and then access one of these resources that I define in the rules, right? So all this we are going to do as a part of our lab, and you will have access to these labs, unlimited access actually, with all the lab workbooks. I did show you the lab workbooks as well, but just for the sake of, the guys who have joined new today, I'll just show you the lab workbooks as well. So all the lab workbooks will be shared with you as soon as the session is over. Okay, so if you see right from the basic stuff like the standalone lab installation, everything is given to you step by step. Okay, everything will be covered step by step. That will actually help you to put down the lab scenarios. Okay, so everything, as I said, this is standalone. Then there is internet access policy, distributed, SIC troubleshooting, NAT, database revision control, policy objects, policy layers, there's clustering, all that will be given to you. Okay, so I mean, the material is all available right from day one. That's the idea, right? And then probably, yeah, so these are the numbers, contacts, in case if you have any queries, any questions related to the enrollment, related to the labs, or any other queries that you might have, you can always, put a mail, just call us, WhatsApp, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then, we'll be able to sort out your queries. Okay. So having said that, let us begin today's session. Yes.
Akhil?
Yes.
So in order to set up that lab, what are the system specification requirements for your laptop?
Okay, so you don't have to really set it up on your laptop. Of course, it's your choice, but we will give you the access wherever this lab is stored. you will
Mm-hmm.
have this the UNL file given to you. Okay, so this is the lab already there. Okay, so as I said, every material is available right from day one. So you will be given access to this lab with this UNL file installed already. So you can just, my point is, don't start everything at once, because we are going to take it slowly, right? Tier 2, then tier 3, then probably the VPN or clustering or whatever. So, slowly and gradually take it and turn the equipments on. There's no need to turn all of them on right from day one, right? So that's the idea, but the access will be given to you as soon as you enroll. That's the point. Okay.
But if someone has to do it by himself, like,
This
in
will
his
be
laptop.
a very heavy lab. Okay, a very
Oh,
heavy
okay.
lab if you want to do all the stuff. But if you just
Mm-hmm.
want to put maybe, one management server and one firewall, kind of just to play around with a few
Mm-hmm.
IPs, then I would suggest 16 GB RAM.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes even 8 GB works, as long as you are able to work. It will be a bit slow, but 16 GB RAM with around 8 core processor, that should be fine.
Okay.
But that will be a very basic one. You'll not be able to set up everything on this, on
Okay.
that. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
the idea. So
Mm-hmm.
let us today what we are going to cover is, yeah. So and of course, this is my course tracker. So this is actually what we finished yesterday. Okay, all the discussions about my NGFW, what is stateful inspection, UDM features. UTM features is pending, and we are going to go through it once we dive into this section of UTM features more. But yeah, on a higher level, we have discussed that as well. So that was done yesterday. Today, we are going to see this, okay, the firewall components, what type of scenarios can be there for installation. So we'll have like, a standalone. I mean, this is all theory. And then we will, if time permits today, then we'll jump into a lab of two-tier installation, which is like a standalone installation. Okay. So we are going to start with the components of firewall today, and we will start with the theory for the standalone and distributed, and what are the pros and cons for the standalone versus distributed environment, right? So we'll do all this, and let us just go into it, right? So let's go for components of checkpoint. Okay. So when I say components of checkpoint, again, we discussed yesterday, right? Checkpoint is like a software. It gets installed on a hardware. Okay, and there are various hardwares possible. Okay, so I mean, see, most of the times, yes, customer orders a gateway, an appliance from the checkpoint itself. Having said that, if I have a server which supports the checkpoint gateway installation, I can very well use it. I can just pay checkpoint only for the software and licenses, and I can use my server as a hardware. And probably I told you, right, a hardware or a firewall is nothing but it's like a machine with more number of LAN cards, more CPU, more RAM, more hard disk, right? So I can very well use my server instead of checkpoint appliance coming from checkpoint, right? So that kind of installation is possible with checkpoint. Okay, you can just pay for the software and you can use your own hardware, but it's always better to get everything from checkpoint and get the complete support out. Now the very first component that we have for checkpoint, okay, is the firewall module. Okay, so when I say the firewall module, some people call it gateway, and it's also in terms of checkpoint terminology, it is also called as enforcement module. I'll tell you why. Okay, so it's like, it's called gateway or enforcement module or firewall or VP1 FW1. Okay, this is also a terminology from checkpoint. If you say like VPN1 FW1, it implies it's a firewall gateway or a firewall appliance. Okay, now here most of the times you will have the OS as Gaia. Okay, the OS is Gaia. Just before we jump into this Gaia OS, you should know that there a bit of the history about this. Okay, so when I say a bit of history, there is an OS called IPSO, that which is which supports checkpoint installation. Okay, there is an OS which is called SPLAT. Okay, SPLAT stands for secure platform. Okay, So, and then came the Gaia. Okay, so initially, this was the preferred OS. Okay, so this is like a Checkpoint proprietary OS. Oh, of course, this is also from Checkpoint. But previously, when Gaia was not there, then Splat was the favorite, you can say the OS, okay, for the Checkpoint installation. Then there was one particular hardware which is called Nokia IP appliance. I believe you would have seen something like this, Nokia IP. I'll show you the figure or how it looks, okay, in a minute. So if you're going to use this hardware, probably the OS that you should be using was IPSO. Okay, and then all the other servers, you know, the IBM server, the Dell server, or anything, you can actually use Splat or Gaia on that. Anyone, even on this box. Okay, this box comes preloaded with Gaia, that is fine. But if I want to use Splat as this this OS on this box, I can still use it. And the end result is always Checkpoint. Sorry, not Splat. Okay, the end result, as I said, is always Checkpoint. It does not matter, you know, whether the OS is IPSO or the OS is Gaia or the OS is Splat. Does not matter. The end result that you get is that same console, the same, you know, management abilities and all. It absolutely does not matter. And for that matter, you know, you can have a mix and match also. So you can have, okay, let me go to the next component. Okay. So just give me a minute. Okay, so this is the first component, which is the firewall. Okay, all your network interfaces will be connected to this. So when I say network interfaces, your LAN, your DMZ, your WAN office connectivity, your internet, everything will be like connected to this firewall. Okay, so internet comes here, LAN comes here, your DMZ may connect over here, DMZ switch. Then there might be a WAN router connecting to your WAN offices. So the idea is everything, every network, you know, communicating with each other has to pass through the firewall so that it can have a control. It can allow or block some kind of communication. That's the idea. Okay. Any firewall. I mean, you go with any other NGFW as well. That should be the design. Basically, all my VLAN should be terminating on my firewall. And then through the policies, we will decide which you know, communication from which network to which network to be allowed, to be natted, to be blocked, everything. So that acts as a enterprise gateway. Okay, so what is the function of a firewall? It acts as an enterprise gateway which processes the traffic as per our configured policy. Okay, so that's the main function of this component. The next component that comes in is a management server. Now, when I say a management server, this particular device, okay, it's always a hardware as well. And then we have to install the management server software on it. This will store the policies, the ACLs. Okay, all my policies get stored on this, the rules that I write. Okay. Now, yesterday we discussed, right? This firewall has an HTTPS console, a web-based console. But you cannot write policies on this. You can just configure the IP addresses, you can configure routing, you know, all that. But if you want to write policies, you will have to log in to this management server only. That's the only option out there. Okay, so that's the idea. And what is the role of this management server? The management server by default stores all the ACLs or the policies, and all the traffic that this firewall processes, the logs go to the management server by default. That network traffic log, you know, whatever traffic is allowed, block, whatever. So that will be stored by default on this management server. By default, even this one has a Gaia OS, and again, there can be Splat or any other option. So when I was saying that a mix and match of OS is possible, I can have a Splat management server and a Gaia OS firewall, which can work together, no problem. I can have an IPSO management server and a Gaia OS firewall, which is also fine. It does not matter. Okay, so that's where this OS mix and match is possible. However, you need not worry much about this nowadays because everything now is Gaia OS everywhere. Okay, so when you, even if you buy a new license, they will give you Gaia OS license. But then if you say that I want to specifically install a Splat, then they will give you a Splat software as well. That's
This guy is proprietary software
it's
for
a
Checkpoint.
checkpoint. It's
Yeah,
it's like a modified Linux based OS. Simple. Modified
but
Linux.
it has been proprietary software, like the Cisco has the
It's their
proprietary.
own. It's their own.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Checkpoint's own software. Basically, it's like Linux. Linux is free. They have modified it and they've put it as a Gaia OS on the firewall.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the idea. This is the second component, which is called as the management server. And then there is one more component, which is like, yeah, so this is called as the smart console. So yesterday we went into this, right? We took a walkthrough of the smart console. So this is a small exe software, okay? And this gets installed on the admin of the firewall, who's going to manage the firewall. Okay, so these are some components. Okay, and this only supports Windows. Okay, it does not support Linux or any other flavor. It's an exe for now. Okay, exe file, but it only supports Windows installation. Okay, so it's like the idea is simple. You get a firewall, you will install this in the data center, right? In the rack somewhere. You have a management server, you will install it in the data center rack somewhere again. But every time I want to write a policy, I cannot go to this data center and open the console and do the stuff, right? So this software gets installed on the firewall admin desktop. Okay. And then using this software, it connects to the management server. Okay. Always remember that the smart console or the GUI client software connects to the management server only. It never connects to the firewall. Okay. The management server may have firewall added, and then he should be able to write rules or manage the rules on this firewall. So there is something called as permission profile and all that stuff we'll see. But the idea is I connect to the management server and then manage whatever firewall is added to this management server. Always, always. So once you open this client, it will prompt you for three things. It will ask you for username, it will ask you for password, and it will ask you for server IP. So you should have username, password, and the server IP where you are going to connect to. It never asks you for a firewall IP. Okay, so you have to always remember this. So these are the three main components. There is one more component which is optional. Okay, so I'm showing you that, which is log server. This is optional. Everywhere you may not find this. I mean, in all setups. So as I said, by default, all the logs are going to the management server, fine. But at the end of the day, this one is also like, a machine. So it will have a hard disk, which gets full, right? So here you can configure the logs to go to this external log server. That's the story. Okay. So this is again optional. You don't have to really do this. Okay. But of course, once the logs are stored over here, you can move the files from this server to FTP or other servers or other storage. All that is possible. Having said that, if you don't want to do that and you want to have a big storage installed and you want to use it as an optional log server to collect all the logs, this kind of configuration is also supported. Okay. So that's the story. Any questions on these components?
So this architecture you are describing, Akhil, like where you are using a separate server for the
Yes,
management server and separate
for the
box for the
logs.
firewall, right?
Perfect.
But
Yes.
whatever, like what if everything is basically installed on just one box?
No worries. Absolutely fine. Everything. See, the end result, right? As I said, will always be checkpoint. It does not matter to you whether on one box I'm installing only firewall or firewall and management server, everything fine. this has to be always a separate hardware. You cannot put a log server on the firewall and the management server both. No, you cannot do that. Okay, you will see that once we get into the installation mode. Okay, but this is the idea. Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, your this management server is, as I understand, like connected to a dedicated PC.
Management server is connected to the network.
All right, so it's inbound, right? Inbound management, not the console management. Correct?
There is a port for out of band management if you want. If you want, okay. There is a port. You can connect everything. There is a management port available on the appliances. You can give some IP. You can connect it to the management switch as well. No worries.
Because ideally, in any network, whatever components we take in networks, okay, okay, we have like inbound. Inbound can be like any network, okay, whether it can be with your management. You can have a separate management itself, or you can use your data VLANs also for management connectivity as far as reachability is there. But when it's concerned to the out of band, it's always the console which is connected to it.
Correct.
So
Correct.
here,
You're right.
so we have a physically dedicated console which is connected somewhere, or it just like inbound kind of thing. But because what I understand is once you install the GUI client on some PC, it's almost like inbound.
Yes. Yes. So that's what I'm saying. Let's say this this appliance and this appliance, they can go to a dedicated management console or a management network switch. Okay. So you can connect this over here, this over here. And of course, you can have a connectivity from your machine over here as well. So this is completely out of band. Okay. You will, I mean, only these interfaces, it will not support any routing. Okay. So this is like completely out of band. And of course, if you have something like, this is an L3 switch. Okay. Let's say this is an L3 switch. And here you have IT segment or an IT switch where this machine is connected, right? So this can be also possible. And then there is a firewall segment or a security segment switch where one of this firewall is connected and one from here is connected. So you can use this, which is completely in band as well. You just need to have the reachability to these, to this IP basically. Okay, so this is completely out of band, which is dedicated. Okay, and this is in band as well. So, and it supports both. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to go for out of band. But yes, if you want, there is a dedicated management port on both of appliances, both the appliances. You can have a switch like, a management segment connected, and you can use it as well. So the short answer is in band as well as out of band management is possible.
Along with console.
Yeah. Along with console, correct. Okay, so that's the story. Now, yeah, anyone has any questions on IPSO or anything? So probably let me show you if possible. So, so this was like, a Nokia appliance. This is how a Nokia appliance looks. Okay, this is like a checkpoint Nokia appliance. Yeah, this is how it looks. Okay, so the story is, there was a company called Nokia, right? And even that hardware, it was, yeah, this one was the thing. And this supported Checkpoint software installation, this hardware. Ultimately, Checkpoint bought this company, and now you will see something like Checkpoint IP appliance on this. They have removed the sticker of Nokia from there, and they call it as Checkpoint IP appliance now. So if you are going to use this hardware, then you will have to use IPSO for it. IPSO also has a Gaia wrapper. A Gaia wrapper is a Gaia software for the Checkpoint firewall. So, basically that same story, hardware, OS, and then the Checkpoint. And end result is always Checkpoint. You don't need to worry about all that, okay? But it's only that the installation part is a bit different if you go for IP appliance or anything else, right? And if you're going to use like an IBM server, let's say I'm just putting down some server over here, but if you're going to put an IBM server, how will you install the checkpoint on it, right? So what you need to do is you can just go to checkpoint R81 download. Okay, so they give you free. Okay, this is free. So you can just go here, 15 days fully functional trial you can download from these websites. You don't even have to register, nothing. Just search for R81 download and you can start your download right from here. Absolutely nothing, no worries. I mean, there is nothing related to registration or anything. And it's a fully functional download. It's around 4 GB, 4.5 GB something. So this is the latest one, R81. Okay. So it's a ISO, right? So what you have to do is you get this ISO, you make it as a bootable, okay, and then put it in this CD drive or a DVD drive or a pen drive, something like that, and start your installation. The same way we install Windows, right? Simple. So that's how it really works. And if you go for, checkpoint, maybe, I don't know if they still allow Splat download, but let's say if we say checkpoint Splat OS download. So then there is, yeah, because everyone has been migrating to Gaia now, right? So that's the Splat is like nowadays no one uses it. Most of it is every comes in, right? So that's the story. If you have a different hardware, the OS file would be different. That's the thing that I wanted to tell you. Okay. So and the same way you will have an IPSO as well. Okay. IPSO and things. Okay, it's still loading. But as I said, you need not worry. Okay, everything nowadays is all Gaia, everywhere Gaia. Okay, so you can just download that ISO file and start doing your installation. That's the basic thing. Okay, yeah, you have to go to downloads over here, and then okay, so if you go to upgrade downgrade wizard, it tells you basically, what OS, or it asks you whether you want to use a Splat or IPSO or Gaia and all that stuff. So you can download your own software. That's the thing. Okay. It's working a bit slow today. I don't know why. But that's the story. And the same ISO has been used over here as well. Okay. So that same ISO. And we will see the step-by-step installation right from scratch, how you can put up a Gaia OS, how you install the Gaia OS, how you do the checkpoint installation, firewall installation, management server installation, everything we are going to see. Okay, so let's say if I say new installation next, then it tells me, what security gateway, or you want something related to management, gateway with integrated management solution, or a gateway integrated management. Then it is asking me for a hardware appliance type. So I'll say either enterprise appliances. So enterprise appliances is nothing but the servers. Okay, high-end enterprise and it. Okay, this could be coming in from open server is something which is your industrial appliances. But when you say enterprise appliance, it will give you all its series, right? And then the data center appliance we saw yesterday, right? So I want to use it on an open server. So I'll select open server. Then they are asking me about the hardware appliance model. Of course, you can just select open server here as well. And this is where, these are the three platforms. It supports Windows Server installation also. Okay, so basically like a desktop, installed with Windows 2016, 19, whatever server OS is there. And then you can download the exe as well for it. The reason is Windows OS itself has a lot of vulnerabilities. Okay, so you can select Gaia or secure platform. Okay, so let's say if I select secure platform, it is asking me again for some version. Okay, so they have stopped, I think, in R77.30. That was the last version of secure platform. So I just burn that CD as a bootable and then put it on my open server CD drive. And once it reboots, the installation begins, right? But we are going to select Gaia, and you can select all the versions that you want. 81.10. Oh, this is something new. 81.20 is there as well. It could be an early availability program or something, but I don't know if it is officially released. But it's good, right? So you can use any one of, you can use it in VMware or Hyper-V or even the Peanuts or Eve, anywhere, right? So this is how you can do it. And these were the OS. Okay. So any queries? Now, one more thing. Okay, on this slide, there is something called as quantum appliances. So when it's just like a name of the appliance, right? Quantum appliance, Maestro appliance, nothing but it's like an hardware, something which is some term which is coined by Checkpoint itself. And when we talk about management server, that is something called as smart one. Okay. Now you have to remember, the moment you hear the word smart one, it is only management server. Only management server. It does not support gateway installation. Okay. So the point is, like there are customers who say that I have a server and I'll be using that server as a management server. I'll buy just the license. So Checkpoint said that I'll tie up with some server vendor and I will give you an appliance as well. And and now they term it as smart one appliance. That's it. So if you go for Checkpoint smart one like this, right? So it will tell you, like, what all models are available. But the moment you hear smart one, that means it is a management server only. You cannot make this device as a firewall. Okay. So smart one, there is different models: 600S, 600M, 6000L, 6000XL. So these are some, I mean, this is, at the backend, it's like a Dell server. They've actually tied up with Dell, but they will send you this if you order, separately. So it will tell you that it can manage around, if your maximum gateways, this is how it is licensed. So if you buy this device 600 as maximum, you can have 5 gateways or 10 gateways. You can have 25 or 50. So license, basically you'll have to buy that license for that many firewalls, management of that many firewalls. And then we have 75 and 150 and then 200 and 400 at max. The other specifications are also given out here as a management with a Gaia OS. Okay, install on it. Management server install. Right? Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Very much clear now. So there are 3 components: firewall, management server, and the smart console GUI client. Hardly any client actually goes for it. Okay. Now, deployment modes. Okay. So based on your preferences, okay, there can be 2 deployment modes. We've been discussing all this while. There is standalone or a 2-tier architecture. Okay. Where on the single hardware, whatever hardware it is, it may be Nokia IP or anyone, right? Or your open server or even on VM. Okay, you give enough resources to a VM ISO, you can use that particular machine as a firewall as well as management server. Okay. And the second component, of course, will get installed on your laptop or the desktop as a firewall admin. So this is called a two-tier architecture. Okay. So that same ISO I told you, when you do the installation, it will ask you, you want to make this device as a firewall or a management server or both. So if you select both, you will get the two-tier installation. Simple. Okay. So this is the two-tier architecture. There is something called as distributed or three-tier architecture, wherein, of course, we have a centralized management server. This can be again VM, Splat, IPSO, whatever OS with some hardware, of course. So this will be a smart one appliance, let's say smart one appliance installed at Mumbai. Okay. And of course, there is a smart console installed on your laptop or desktop. That is also the second component. The third component or the third tier components would be various types of firewalls. Okay, there can be a firewall in Mumbai where, let's say, this management server is also installed. There can be a firewall at Delhi. There can be a firewall at Chennai. There can be a firewall at Bangalore, some other office, some other country. As long as there is the TCP connectivity to manage that firewall appliance, I can use this type of setup as well. So here what happens is, okay, on this two-tier architecture, you will have ACLs stored over here, and the ACLs get enforced on this firewall. Okay, so in the earlier slide, I told you about enforcement module, right? And if you remember, yesterday we installed the policy, right? So when we install the policy, these ACLs, these rules that are written on the management server component, get installed or get enforced on the firewall component. Even though they are on the same box, fine, no worries. But logically, they are two separate components. One is firewall, one is management server. Their functions are installed. All my rules will get installed on the firewall component, and then the policy comes into effect. The same way, here I will be having ACLs, okay, for Mumbai policy. So let's say I have a policy for Mumbai, I have a policy for Delhi, I have a policy for Chennai, I have a policy for Bangalore, and I can install or manage these firewalls sitting right here in my desktop. So that's why it is called as a distributed or a three-tier architecture. I just need to have connectivity to these appliances on port number 18191. Okay, so we are going to see this as well. This is about the SIC. It will come in, but this is the SIC module through which we manage the firewall. So if my management server has connectivity to these firewalls on this port, I will be able to install ACLs sitting at one centralized location. So these are the two possible deployments. Okay. And that's why, most of the time, I mean, there is no hard and fast rule out here. Again, it depends. If there's a smaller network, maybe, 100 users kind of thing, people may go with a standalone architecture. If there are various offices, I cannot put down a firewall management team at Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, separate, right? I just have 8 or 10 guys managing it from Mumbai. So I can put a single team over here and a distributed environment like this, so that I can manage all the firewalls from a centralized location. Fine, right? So these type of deployments are possible in Checkpoint. Any questions? And you can see, right, this fellow is a Gaia OS. Just a second. So this fellow is like a Gaia OS, and this one is again Gaia Firewall. Okay, FW. This one is a Nokia IP appliance with an IPSO OS. Okay, IPSO is also one OS, as I said. So IPSO OS Firewall, no problem. This is again Gaia or a Splat. Okay, it can be Gaia, it can be Splat as well. No worries. This is an older appliance. You no longer will be able to buy this. But this can be also Splat or Gaia. Or let's say one more server comes in I put Windows on it. Okay, and I install Gaia checkpoint on it with an exe software. No worries. I can do that as well. And I can still manage it using this Gaia firewall. I can do that. Okay, so Windows will come in over here. We can do that. That's the story. Okay, but no one does it. Okay, Windows, really no one uses it except for one customer I saw in my life using firewall on Windows OS, but no one uses it. So this is the 2-tier and 3-tier architecture. Any questions on this? Everything clear?
Yeah, I think the older version which you told, like, where the firewall and management was on the same one, like any normal other firewall, like Sonic or they have their own console using HTTP. So
No,
in
no,
this,
the console and all is absolutely same. I mean, if you're talking about this smart console GUI,
yeah,
yeah, it is absolutely same, irrespective whether you use Plat or EPSO or anything. It's absolutely same. You don't feel the difference.
but the installation architecture here would be same, like the
No.
firewall, and when you mention like as a standalone, but then you have a management server. All right.
Correct.
So they have segregated these two application itself.
No, so okay, the story is simple, right? I just have to download one ISO. That's it. Even if you want to install firewall, you want to install management, you want to install log server, anything, okay, you just have to download ISO. Let's say I have a Windows OS. Okay, Windows OS. I will be installing some component. It could be a firewall, it could be management server, or it could be a log server for that matter, the optional one, right? So they don't have separate exe softwares for this. They just give you one exe. When you run that, it will prompt you, what do you want to make this machine? You want to make this machine as a firewall or a management server or a log server. They will prompt you during the installation, and then accordingly the installation is carried out. So that same ISO, right? Even that, when you run the ISO or execute the OS installation, so there are two stages. One is OS and one is the software. When you install the software, it will prompt you whether you want to make this as a firewall or a management or both. Simple. You don't have to get into the firewall OS software different and then the management software install different. Of course, you will see, like, once we get into the installation mode, you will see that, and then it will be much more clear to you. Okay. One thing that you have to remember is the version number, okay, of this management server should always be highest, okay, or equal to highest or equal to the firewall that you have to manage. So the story is, if you are running R81 over here, okay, and you are running R81.10 over here, then using this R81 software, you'll not be able to manage this. You'll have to upgrade this to R81.10 and then you will be able to do it. Other versions, let's say this one is R80.10, fine, no worries. Backward compatibility is there. Forward compatibility is not there. So you will have to enable this to the latest version first. Okay, every time, let's say you plan an upgrade, so you will have to upgrade management server first. Your console may be different as well, you may have to upgrade that as well. Okay, so that's the idea again. So the very first point is console, then the management server, and then you plan the upgrade of your firewall. If you upgrade your firewall first, then you will not be able to manage it using your management server. So this you always have to remember. The management server has to be of the highest or equal version for the firewall that you want to manage. Okay, so let us actually get into the labs so that it will be a bit more clear to you. Okay, so let's go into the lab. Okay, what we are going to do now is, yesterday we did one lab. I will remove all the components from there. Okay, and we will actually start the installation right from scratch. Okay, when I say scratch, we can put down a completely new firewall. I'll just delete this. Okay, I'm sure you guys know how to use this, right? Use PNet and all. And I'm completely deleting. Okay, just even if there is some new guy who doesn't know how to add the components or anything, maybe fine, right? Let us keep these IPs separate somewhere. Okay. Let us keep the network object also separate somewhere. So now just go with the flow. Okay, just let me know if you have any queries. I'm keeping this Windows console also installed so that we save a bit of time on this. Okay, just give me a minute. Just be online, please. Okay, I'll add it whenever needed. Okay. So currently I'm going to install, right? I mean, the complete new one. Okay. I have downloaded the ISO. I have put it in the PNet environment. That is what I have done already. Okay. So what I will do is just give me a minute. Just be with me for a minute. Okay. I'm changing my Wi-Fi. Are you guys there with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to add a new node for checkpoint. Okay, all together. So you just have to right click, add a node, checkpoint security gateway, CPSG R81. That's my latest version that I have. I will put the CPU as 8. You don't need to use such high thing. Okay, and probably I'm using a bit of more RAM over here just so that we can complete the thing faster. But you don't actually have to do all this. Okay, your resources, everything has been mapped properly. So I will use 16 GB RAM here. This much is not required for a single node though. Okay, don't worry. So this is the idea, and for now I'm using the primary console as RDP to show you how the Gaia OS installation looks. Okay. Yeah, and 4 Ethernet interfaces, all fine. So I'll just say save, right? And always remember that whenever you install any checkpoint software, one interface should be up. Okay, one interface has to be TCP IP ready. That means it has to be connected physically, and some IP has to be configured on that interface. Otherwise, your this installation will fail. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect one machine to ETH0 of my checkpoint firewall. That's it. Okay. So that's what I have done. And I will just turn this on so that the physical connection of this is also up. I will turn on the firewall as well. Okay. So once I turn on this firewall, you will see I'll get into the console. So I have used RDP. Wait, I think it should be VNC. Sorry. Okay. My mistake. Yeah, it has to be VNC. So I'll just stop it once again and we'll start. Okay, so the very first time, okay, when you start this, the firewall, this is what you get, okay? And this is not what you get when you order an appliance from Checkpoint. This is because we are running in our lab. Okay, I'll tell you the difference. So it says that install Gaia on this system or do not install. So I'm just going to select the upper one and press enter. Now, when I say that, see, usually when you order an appliance, okay, then what happens is let's say you order this appliance. Okay, this appliance comes in. There is one management port on this. Okay, management port that has an IP of 192.168.1.1. Okay, it's pre-configured. Okay, one OS, one Gaia version comes installed by default, basically, right? So what you have to do is you have to connect your laptop with some IP, right? 192.168, 1 dot some X series IP, and then do an HTTPS to this IP and start the installation. Correct? So that is what you do when you order an appliance from Checkpoint. But this particular process, this Gaia installation, what we are doing, has been done by the Checkpoint engineers, and then this thing is shipped out. In our case, because it's a lab, it's a pure, greenfield kind of an environment, we will be doing the installation ourselves. Otherwise, this Gaia OS installation is done by the Checkpoint guys. And then after doing this, what happens is the software installation. Got it? Because that is what happens usually when you order an appliance. You just have to log in using HTTPS. This you'll put the username as admin, password as admin, and it will ask you to change the password and go ahead with the installation. Okay, so this is the difference. But yes, of course, in our lab we will see this. No worries. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, it tells you that this process will install the Gaia OS, okay, Gaia operating system and associated applications. So say okay to this. It asks us to select the language for the keyboard, say US, okay. Let this be by, whatever default values are there, just let it be. Don't try to change it. That's fine, okay, because or at the max I'll use this as 3. That's fine. Okay, just go with it. Say okay. Now the password. So I'm saying admin @123. Admin @123. Okay. Can someone go on mute? I think there's a background noise. Okay. So now it is showing that one link is up, which is physically up. Fine. And I want to, I think there is, yeah. So now it is asking me to configure the IP address for that particular interface. Okay. So let's say I put the IP of 8.1. Okay, fine. And then I say the subnet mask, the default gateway. Currently, I'm not using any default gateway. Later on, we can configure. But this is how it really works. So my one IP is configured. That interface is also connected. Fine. Okay. And then it says that the next stage will, format your hard drives and all. So it's okay. Okay, so this process is done by the Checkpoint engineers, and then your box is shipped out. You don't have to do this every time. But if you are going to use a IBM server, right? So you will have to do this because that's your server. And the ISO that you have downloaded, you'll have to make it bootable. And when you do the bootable process, this is what you will see. Simple. But if you order a Checkpoint appliance, this process will be done by the Checkpoint team. And then you just have to do the second part, which we will see after this installation as well, which is connecting directly via the HTTPS console. Okay, so just remember that. Any questions on that? You guys there with me?
Yeah, okay.
So any questions, or you followed right about the installation part?
Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah. So in our case, because we have configured 8.1, it will give us a message that to configure the Checkpoint, use an HTTPS 192.168 8.1. Okay. So when they install the Gaia OS, they configure the IP of 192.168 1.1 on the management interface, and then they send out the appliance. That's the story. And just remember again, this is just the OS installation. Okay. This is just the OS installation. It is not firewall. It is not management server. It is the OS installation. Later on, we will go ahead with the firewall or management or both, right? So that installation will happen soon.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
On which server model are we installing this OS on?
See, this is like, see, this is open server. We call it open server, right? Open server can be VM, it can be, Hyper-V, it can be your Eve, it can be a hardware box as well from Dell, HP, IBM, anything. So I don't know what model is there at the backend, but of course I'm using it as a PNet, where of course the VMware would be installed using all the resources in the physical hardware server, right?
Okay.
That's how it will be. But when we call it open server, it's literally open server. It can be any make, any model, as long as you have the correct CPU, correct network configuration, correct hardware resources. The checkpoint image will get installed on it. No worries.
Okay.
Yeah, by that time you can also ask any queries that you might have, team.
What are the main differences between the like firewalls, like for example, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, and Cisco ASA?
See, the thing is, every firewall will have its own features. Okay, when I say features, if we talk about Cisco, fire threat defense and all, firepower and all that, right? So basically, the main difference that I see is on the physical hardware architecture, the type of how they process the packets, and all that. So for example, like Palo Alto, they call it like SP3, single pass parallel processing architecture. Somewhere I think there is in Fortinet, they call it something related to ASIC, application software integrated chip and all. Checkpoint has its own architecture, right? So basically it's about the hardware and the software, the platform basically, right? But on feature wise, okay, most of the things would be similar feature wise, because all of them are NGFW, all of them will support VPN, user based access and all that stuff, UTM features, all of them will support VPNs. So from the end user perspective, from the features perspective, everything should be same. Of course, some will give you better performance, speed, of course, right? But then if you really ask me, like an NGFW is something like you can use any one, as long as you have good budget or which needs your requirement, what meets your requirement. Simple. You can use any firewall. Okay, but basically, I showed you the Gartner quadrant yesterday, right? The
Yes.
three leaders are Checkpoint, Fortinet, and Palo Alto. So most of the times they have been used or deployed. Yeah. So this is the thing. Okay, it is asking us to complete the first time configuration, login from a browser to this IP. So this much process is done by the checkpoint guys, and then the box is sent out to you. So I'm going to do a reboot. Okay, it is prompting me to reboot. And one thing is, always when checkpoint asks you to reboot, just reboot it. Okay, don't say that I'll reboot it later or something. Just follow this, because the thing is, it I mean, that's the way to deploy. Simple. Okay, that's the way to deploy. So just go with the flow and all. Simple. Okay. So that's the thing. Let it reboot, and by that time I will also set up my Windows client. Okay, so I'm going to wipe the config over here as well. And let us see what happens. Yeah.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
As in, do we have this support in public cloud? Any idea?
You mean you want to deploy checkpoint in public cloud, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is natively available. There's something called as Cloud Guard. It's like a subscription-based module. You can use it.
Okay.
Okay. So it is available in, I think, in Azure, in AWS, Marketplace and all. So it's very simple. You can do that. So what I will do is by the time it restarts. Okay, it has already restarted. Now, yeah, let us open this and I'll show you how to download that smart console and everything as well. Okay, fine. So we will do our first time installation from here. Okay. So it was asking us to do, connect via HTTPS browser, right? So we will do it from this machine. And this one is a completely new machine. I have wiped off the console and all that I downloaded yesterday, that I showed you yesterday, right? I removed it. This is a completely new machine now. And then this is what we're going to do. Let it come up. Okay. Fine. So admin. It's just to tell you how, all the components are getting installed, from where you can download the smart console. That's why I'm showing you all this lab. Okay, fine. So what we are going to do is we'll configure the IP of 8 dot something over here. Let me check out the resources for this. Okay, good enough. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll configure 8 dot something over here. Okay, 8.8 or something like that, so that we are able to do an HTTPS to 8.1. To 168.8.8. I'm just putting a default gateway of my firewall. Okay, no worries. DNS any which ways is not going to matter here because there's no internet and all, but fine, we'll just use 4.2.2.2. Okay, so this is done. And just for the sake of labs, because we shouldn't have any issues, what I'll do is I'll also disable the Windows firewall for the machine, right?
So in real world scenario, the Windows system that we are connecting directly to the firewall will be actually going through the switch and the router and then to the firewall, right?
Correct, correct. So that depends, how your setup is. Somewhere it would be like you are sitting in some firewall VLAN and then through an L3 VLAN, you're connecting to a management server and all. No worries. That should be fine. See, as long as you're able to reach your management server and IP address, absolutely fine. No worries. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, I'll just open the browser. I'll not use Google. Okay, let's use Microsoft Edge. At least for the first time installation wizard, we'll not use Google. Okay. Later on, you can use it, but better to use this Edge for the first time configuration wizard. So currently, as I said, we have finished only the Gaia installation, and now we are going to begin the second part of it, which I'm going to make it as a standalone firewall, right? So I have to say https://192.168.1.1 up 8.1. Okay. Yeah, so that's fine. It says go to your start page details, go on to the web page. So this is where you have to put your username and password that I configured during the installation.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
If I connect management port through also, it will come same desktop?
Exactly same. Yes. For the very first installation. Okay. Or even like when you do an HTTPS, it will always prompt you for this. But this is the first time configuration wizard. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So this is where we will define that I want to make this device as a firewall or a router, or a management server or just both of them. Okay. So this is the first time configuration wizard. And this is what you will see when you order a checkpoint appliance as well. Okay. So let's say next. Continue with R81 configuration. Just say next. ETH0, this has already been configured during our installation. Next step, you can say that if you want to configure other interface, you can say turn it on and put the IP, something like maybe 172.16 5.1 255.255.255.0. Next. You can put any host name out here. You can say CKPT gateway, anything like that. Okay, it's up to you. You can put all the primary, secondary DNS servers. You can configure your NTP servers out here or set your time zone. Say next. And this is where it tells you, okay, so multi-domain server is one more component. It's a separate solution, but you want to make this as a security gateway and or security management. Okay, so this is what we want. Say next. And on this products page, you can select that, okay, I want to make this device only as the management server. So I have to uncheck the gateway, and you can see that this part of the cluster thing option goes away. If I select this, yeah.
Okay, sorry, Vincent. The previous one, multi-domain, is it VDOMs?
No. It's not
different.
VDOMs. It's like a high-end management server where you can create multiple instances of management servers. Okay, so basically you might have a MSP kind of an environment, and each customer's data has to be logically separated and kept. So basically, if you go back to this and if
it's
you
multi-tenant. Is it multi-tenant?
multi-tenant kind of an environment, yes. So you can create up to 250 instances of management server if you go to multi-domain server. Okay. So that's the idea. Just give me a minute. You guys are there with me?
Yeah.
I think then. Okay. There was some problem with the MSDSC. Fine. So if you select this as a multi-domain server, then you can run multiple instances of security management servers on it. Okay, so one server will be dedicated for customer A, another instance for customer B, like that. Okay, but we are going to see this. Okay, and if we remove management option, then you can see, like, all this other thing goes away and only this option remains, which is particularly for this gateway thing. If I select both, of course, I'm going to install both of the things on the same device. Okay, so it is asking me whether if you are going to do a security management solution installation, whether it's a primary or the secondary log management server or a log server. So you remember this optional component that I was talking about. So if you select this, log server will get installed. So there is no separate setup for log server or a separate setup for firewall and management and all. Okay. So I'm going to select primary for now, but that's the idea. You just need one file. That's it. Whatever you want to install, it will be there. Everything is packaged inside. Okay. So I'm removing this because it asked me for the checkpoint support and all that. So I'm not going to. Blade contracts means the subscriptions basically. So that's something that we haven't got. So I'll not use that. And I have selected gateway and a management component, both of them to be installed on this machine.
So you're clustering, the clustering part, is it a high availability itself?
Yes,
at this
exactly.
moment?
Yes.
And that is for traffic and management for both.
Correct. So, I mean, see, when we talk about management, there will be a virtual IP that you have to connect to. So we'll see that in the clustering part. Don't worry. Okay, but there will be a virtual IP even for management, even for traffic, everything. Okay, all the segments will have a virtual IP. Don't worry. We'll see that. Okay, so here it says, now this is like security management administrator. Okay. If you want, you can use Gaia administrator or you can create a new one. So we are creating a new one, and this is the GUI client login. Remember, I told you when we connect via GUI to the management server. Okay, security management administrator. That means the guy connecting from the GUI client software will use these credentials. Okay, so I'm saying, let's say NJ-admin over here. And password is also NJ-admin. You can use the Gaia administrator also, but in case if you want, you can create a new one. And of course, it's always better to create a new one. I'll explain you later, but that's the idea. So I'm creating a new one. Then it is asking me like GUI clients that can log into the security management. So first is any IP or this machine, like this IP address. So only, like, even if some other user installs the Smart Console software on his machine, he will still not be able to log in because I have kind of hard bound, right? I've put that only this IP will be able to connect. Even though he has your credentials, even though he has the connectivity, he will still not be able to connect because only one IP address is allowed to connect to the management server. Okay, so you can use a particular network or a range of IPs 8.5 to 8.10 kind of, or just allow any IP to connect to the management server. Okay, so I'm using any for now. Just say next.
So this
tells me
smart console. Hello.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. So this is the smart console software installation on the Windows machine, right?
Correct. No. It is just defining which IPs will connect. We are yet to download the Smart Console software, but this is just defining Like, see, there is a team of 5 firewall members. So all those 5 IPs will have to be allowed out here. Simple.
Oh.
Otherwise, they will not be able to connect to the management server. We are not yet started the smart console installation. Nothing. Okay. This is just defining that these are my smart clients or GUI clients who will connect to the management server. That's it. Okay.
Okay.
So it tells me that I have selected a gateway and a management server, primary one, and finish. And it will take a few minutes. Done. And I think it will ask for a reboot after that as well. Okay, so this is how this first time configuration wizard is run. And once this is through, I mean, once it is completed, then once you log into this HTTPS console, you will have the option to download the smart console as well. We'll see that. Okay, and yes, it is also available directly as an exe from the Checkpoint website also. Okay, so you can download it from there as well. You can just search like smart console R81. So you can download that, no worries. But it's better you use it from the firewall itself, no worry, this module itself, right? So it'll take a few minutes again, but let us see. Okay, and just I missed a couple of things yesterday. Someone was asking about the demo lectures, right? So they should be available on YouTube. Okay, the demo lecture recordings for yesterday and today. Okay, and just to inform you, because we are having this December Christmas and all, right? So probably on during that period we may have to skip, right? Because most of them or most of us would be on leave that time, right? So the December 25th we can all probably till 31st kind of or 1st Jan we may have to skip those lectures and we'll kind of push it off to the next week. Okay, so that's just for your information. Yeah, meanwhile, you can shoot up your queries if you have any. No worries.
Sir, what is the duration of this course, sir? Checkpoint?
Yeah, it will be around 32 to 34 hours.
30 to 40 hours. Okay. And sir, how do we do the practical?
So I told you, right, you will be giving the complete lab access. This
Okay.
lab I showed you today. So we have it, put all the VNL files and everything will be given to you. It's not on the same server, but you will get a lab which is there. Okay. So there is a lab over here. Same lab is created on this server as well, but you will have access. So all this, I showed it right in the beginning, everything like standalone and distributed, and then site to site, AD server installation, DMZ server installation, everything is there. It's there in the lab, and we will provide you the access just in case if you want to try or install new stuff or anything, play around with this lab as much as you want.
Okay. Okay. And then what would be the timing for the class?
It will be 8 to 10, roughly 8 to 10 on Saturdays, Sundays. It's a weekend batch.
Okay.
So yeah, 8 to 10. Or probably if time permits, if things are okay, we can start at 7:30 to 9:30 kind of. If you guys are okay, we can extend until 10 as well. No worries.
Okay. 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 So fine, sir.
Yeah.
8 o'clock is good time, so we'll continue that.
So we are on the final step now. And it will go on for a reboot, okay? Because once you install the firewall, definitely it will go for reboot. If it is only management server, it may not ask you for a reboot as such. And even I'd just like to show you the lab books as well. So here also, if you see, everything has been given over here again. So, this is how the Gaia installation takes place. Okay, so this is how, if you set the console right to telnet, then this is how it will look actually. Okay, it's the same process we just did. Okay, but if let's say the console is not VNC and you put it to telnet, then this is what you will see. Okay, so everything is given to you step by step. Okay, just in case if you were wondering, the IP address you may feel a bit different, that's fine, but it's okay, right? No worries. So until this point, everything we did right up till now, that's how it really works. And this is like the first time configuration wizard. We ran everything right step by step, what all options we selected. Okay, host name, all this. Okay, of course, we are going to do it through the proper lab and everything. Okay, from next lecture, but today being demo and all, yeah, I just showed you, right? So everything is there, don't worry. still going on.
So Akhil, a question regarding ransomware in general, like, so, ransomware is on a rise. So how do these firewalls help us in identifying and basically preventing those ransomware attacks, especially Checkpoint, in the context of Checkpoint?
See, when we talk about Checkpoint, right, if you go with the basic firewall module, right, it will not really protect you because there is something called a send blast, okay, APT. So what happens is that's more sort of a 0-day malware or an advanced malware protection that we call it, right? So these kind of files, right, the exe files or anything that has been downloaded through Checkpoint will be sent to a send blasting appliance. Okay, so this is something again we have in the course module. If you go over here, there's something related to threat prevention. Okay, threat prevention. This is where it really protects us. So how does that work is, let me put down something for you where I can draw. Okay, so what happens is, this being my firewall, okay, this is my firewall, that's fine. And there is one more device, okay, which is called as send blast, okay, or basically my threat prevention. So what happens in a send blast is, let's say if someone downloads a file which is ransomware or logbit or whatever, WannaCry or whatever, right? So if one of the users tries to download this, I have to put a threat prevention policy, okay, that if there is an exe file, you send it to sandboxing. Now what is sandboxing? Sandboxing means it's like a testing tool, okay? So Checkpoint calls it send blast. Some others call it, like Paloalto calls it wildfire analysis. Okay. Then 40 sandboxing. Fortinet calls it like 40 sandboxing. There's also something like Sophos. Sophos calls it sandstorm. Okay. So what all this basically means is, okay, I have a small VM environment out here, which is similar to my production setup. Okay, I have let's say I have 8 GB RAM over here, and I have 4-core processor, and I have 256 gig hard disk. Okay, so the same environment I will replicate in this VM as a testing tool. Sandboxing means testing. Okay, so I will replicate it over here, and when some guy tries to download this file, this exe, I will send this file to the sandbox environment. So this guy will detonate this file in this VM. Same Windows 10, 8 GB, 4-core processor, 256 GB hard disk, everything. And here they will observe that what this file is doing, whether it is encrypting the data, whether it is adding itself to startup, whether it is doing that registry changes and all that stuff. And then they create a report kind of. Of course, we have something called as hash. You know what is hash-based protection, right? File hash. Okay. So we can say that you block these hash, you allow these hash. We will discuss about hash for those of you who are not aware of it. But on this policy, we can say that you block this hash, you allow this hash. All that can be done. So basically using all these policy stuff and the report of my analysis, I can decide whether to allow this exe or block this exe at this perimeter or this download as well. I can do a content scanning policy wherein I can say that any file which is exe or a PDF, it should not get uploaded or downloaded through my network. These kind of rules I can put in my firewall for some kind of basic protection. Right? And then there is also something called as threat extraction. Okay. So this part I explained about sandboxing is called threat emulation for Checkpoint. Okay. Threat emulation. That means that I'm emulating a threat. And then there is for something called as threat extraction from emails. Okay, so my email server is receiving that ransomware file as an attachment. I will go and check the emails and I will remove that part, okay, that exe or whatever that is, and I'll deliver a PDF file which the user cannot click or execute as a clean email. So that part is also called as threat extraction. Okay, so we are going to see that in the threat prevention policy, but that's the idea. That's how Checkpoint can prevent you from
Thank you.
these type of attacks.
Yeah, thank you for answering.
Yep. Okay, so let us see where the firewall would have reboot by now. Yeah, so I have to log in and this is how my web UI looks. Okay, once I log into the firewall, this is how it looks. This is the web UI. Okay, this is not the smart console, but it is the web UI. And I'll show you where to download the smart console from. I think we have a few minutes. We should be able to download the smart console and install it as well. And I'll just show you the first time login and then we are done. So this is where you can do all your configurations like network interfaces, routing, proxy, time zone, everything. Okay, backup, restore, all that is possible out here. And as I said, system level changes you always have to do via HTTPS, system level changes. Okay, but I want to write a policy. It tells you that manage software blades using smart console, download now. This is where you should be downloading your smart console from. So just say download now. And it's around like 440 MB sort of software, right? So you just have to click on download now and the download will begin. So I'm saving it directly on the desktop so that we can run it. Maybe just save it later on. Later on we'll do that, right? Just give me a minute. So this is where you get your smart console from. Simple, right? Why is the download taking so much time? What's just happening? The console got closed, is it? What's happening here? Maybe we'll use Chrome, maybe. Let's see. HTTPS // 192.168.1. Okay, so I'll just download. Download is started.
Do we need to use the Internet Explorer?
No, that's fine. It started already. You can use Internet Explorer also, no worries, the Edge also. It started. I think it's 400 MB something, 440 MB, I think. That's it.
Hi.
Yeah.
Can you show me again where is that download option in the firewall?
So if you log in right to the web UI, just note that even if you have a firewall or management server or both, right, the web UI is absolutely same. Okay, it will be the same. Simple. So this is where this download now button is here, right? Manage software blades using Smart Console. Download now. This is where you get your Smart Console from. Simple. Okay. Got it right? You saw that, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it is still downloading. Fine. Let us see. Yeah, 197. So that's it. You get an exe, and I have also shown. Let us see. Let's if you guys are okay, we'll extend a few more minutes so that we can install it as well. Otherwise, this lab workbook is always there. So I've given you all the snapshots and everything, right? So if you go for so this is how it really works. Smart Console. Yeah, so this is how that installation goes through. It's basically just next. You don't have to really do anything and let the console installation finish. That's it. So let us see if time permits. Yeah. $342 already. Yeah, so around 100 MB remaining.
So what is the need of having this smart console if web GUI and smart console are same, right?
So GUI and smart console are not same, right? If you remember, I told you that GUI, the web UI, is used only for a system level configuration. The network interfaces, routing, host name, those kind of things, backup, restore. But if you want to write a policy, a rule, then you will need to log into the smart console. I
Okay,
showed
got
you
it.
yesterday, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the reason you will always need a smart console.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is done. Let us go and run this. It may take a few more minutes. That's it. Let us see.
So Akhil, if multiple admin have to manage this, how would they manage the console?
So you will have to create more administrators. So let's say you are firewall admin 1. So you will have your own credentials. There is a firewall admin 2. He will have his own credentials as well.
Yeah,
so both of them
fine,
can
but
log
from
in.
the logic, because this first time the logic of console is slightly changing for me, okay, compared to the other vendors. All right.
Yeah.
Because ideal the concept of console is only one at a time. It blocks it.
No. I mean, see, if I told you about R77.30, right? Until R77.30, there was only one console, one admin who was able to log in using a read-write privilege. If other guy wanted to log in, he had to compulsorily log in read-only mode, so that the conflicts and all don't change. But nowadays there is a requirement that, you know, it's like, I mean, if I have three guys, all the three guys should be able to log in using read-write credentials. However, all of them cannot change the same object at the same time. So if firewall one guy logs in and he opens one of the host for editing, that will be logged for him. So 2 and 3 admins don't change that object, but they can still create their own object. They can write their own rules. Correct. So that's the criteria. And nowadays all firewalls support that. Mostly all of them will support multiple logins, multiple sessions, because that's the need of the hour, right? I mean, many clients want that. So that's the idea, but we can do that. No worries. Checkpoint has that ability.
So this is almost like an NMS kind of thing, right? Like for
It's
any
not
router.
NMS. No, that's not NMS. This is purely, I mean, you can say a management software where you write a rule. This is not NMS. NMS will just tell you whether device is up, down, kind of thing, right?
No,
This
not
is
necessary. Like not necessarily like Nokia or Huawei or other vendor. They have this feature like a complete package. In fact, few of the Nokia which I have seen, you barely need to log into the nodes. When like 90% of your provisioning or operational tasks you can perform using. It's almost like, because why I'm saying like you, because it almost looks like NMS kind of thing. Okay, idle NMS definition what we have is just the reachability for just a GUI kind of, but
correct.
here which environment I have worked, like like Nokia and Huawei. So it does provide me the templates to configure. Like almost 90% I can configure and manage using the NMS.
Correct,
So-
correct. But then this one is more from the rules perspective. Simple. I can tell you that, any policy, anything, any rule, any natting that you want to configure, that has to happen through Smart Console.
But can you create the VPNs as well through the smart
Yes,
console?
everything. Yes, you will have
So
to.
then it is, so Hafiz is right? Like then it is NMS, right? Centralized management software.
You can call it, yes. You can call it, but still, see, this is like a client which is connecting to your management server. This Smart Console is just a software. It can go on any PC, right?
Yeah.
But the policies, when you say that I want to create a VPN, those VPN rules, everything will be stored on the management server. This Smart Console in itself does not have any data.
Just a client, yeah.
Yeah, so it always connects to the management server, and that is where it differs. That's it. Hafiz, does that answer your question? I'm clear about it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Even like
I told you.
like even in a normal environment, especially telco or where we have multiple devices. Okay, it gets connects to the NMS. Okay, and then you can push policies. I'm telling from the router prospect. Okay, or router prospect. You can completely manage it, like
Yes.
from the configuration, from the template, everything.
Yes. Yes, the same way you will. But see, this is
So
not
even
used
from my end,
configuration.
like I just have the client, okay, and I manage it. Like
Correct.
Maybe I'm confused between the client and the console, okay,
Mhm.
because the console story for me it's still the same. Like
Correct.
has a single login. For me, like the console for me is like out of band connectivity, which I do remotely using the
Correct. Your point is valid. Okay, when we talk about routers, switches, you might have a configuration template as well as single file which will do the routing for you as well as the policies for you, everything in one file. But like this is the architecture of Checkpoint. Okay, if you want to really do changes related to system, okay, where things like host name is there, backup restore is there, static routes or routing, or probably something related to time zone change, system level changes, you will have to log into the web UI But if you want to do any change related to the policies, rules, objects, VPN configuration, integrations, all that, you will have to log into the smart console. That is how it works for Checkpoint. Simple.
Hi, Akhil. This is Ahmed.
Yeah.
So, Akhil, when we are going to move to policy and the netting?
Yeah, we will slowly move on, right? Today we have just seen this, the standalone installation, 2-tier, right? We have seen this. Okay. Slowly we will see, like, these are the first time configuration task. How do you really make your firewall ready? Okay. And then we will slowly move on, like, these are the policy objects, what type of objects you can configure, what type of rules, how do you do it step by step. So because I did it as a demo last day as well. We provided access to internet, right? But if I give you everything on one day, right, it will be like a bit of confusion for you. So we'll go step by step. Okay, 2-tier, 3-tier, then the first time configuration task, and then go ahead, move ahead slowly, right? And we are going to do all that. No worries. Definitely.
Okay. Okay, Akhil. One more point. Like, are you covering this 2FA on the VPN configurations?
Sorry. VPN configurations.
Like with the 2FA, like authentication.
2FA. That is not a part of this module, but I will show you what is to be done. So basically, whatever you mentioned is something called as radius authentication or multi-factor
Actually, my
authentication.
requirement, like radius, goes with the 2FA.
Correct. So that's what I was saying. So when we go for user authentication stuff, just a second, okay? So UTM features, HTTPS identity. Okay, I will show you, okay, because it comes under identity awareness. And when we configure that remote access VPN, right, identity awareness or user remote access VPN, I will show you what steps you have to do. I don't have a Radius server out there in my lab, but I can definitely show you how that works. Okay, or at least I'll show you the steps of integration of the firewall with the Radius server.
Okay, Nick. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let me see if I have included that in my identity awareness, user and client authentication. Yeah, so this is the answer, right? So if you have something like external TechX or an external radius configuration, then this is what you may have to do. Okay, step by step. Okay, so like there is a server, you have to create a radius server. Then you have to set all the radius integration parameters. And then also on the radius side, okay, this is what you'll have to do. This is not a part of your lab, okay? This is just for the sake of clarity. I've just given you as a part of additional information, but this is how you do it, okay? So in the radius server also, you'll have to add something, as a firewall client, as a radius client, which is firewall. And then you can integrate the radius object and user and all, okay? So basically for the user, you're defining that the authentication has to be through the radius server. So first we integrate the firewall with the radius server, and then we define it as an integration mechanism for the user. And then of course you can use it for VPN, you can use it for other authenticated traffic as well, no worries. Okay.
Okay.
So this is how the console will go on. You guys want to finish this and wait, or you want to kind of log off because we are slightly over time? I mean, yesterday we've already seen the console login though, but I'm okay to wait if you guys are there with me. And just remember smart console, GUI client, smart client, these are all one and the same things. Okay. These are all mean smart console software. That's it. So which 2FA server you're using? You just asked the question about MFA and 2FA, right? Radius. Which server is there for you? Someone just asked question about 2FA, right? Radius thing. Imran, was it you?
No, it was not me, but I think he left.
Oh, okay, okay. No worries.
Yeah.
So we are almost done. We'll just log in and then I think we should be good to disperse. What is the file extension for the virtual CP we will need to download if we want to run it in our home labs? So the extension will be .iso. Okay. .iso file, I showed you the path how to download, right? Just Google for checkpoint R81 download and you can download the ISO file. Simple. Any more questions?
Just related to the licensing part, I think for Palo Alto, we have on databases, right? Or the policy basis.
Licenses.
Yeah. For some of the modules. Or is it with only LTM?
No, so policies is I mean, I haven't heard of license on basis of policies. I don't know if you're mixing up the policies with subscriptions. So probably if you have a wildfire subscription, you'll have to pay more. Right? So same thing is applicable for checkpoint also. So probably if you want an IPS subscription, you'll have to pay more. If you just want the firewall module, okay, you can pay less. That's how it really works. I think for all the firewall, I mean, most of
For all the firewalls, that's true. Yeah, that's yeah.
So that's more sort of subscription. We cannot say policies or rules basically, right? It's not rules. It's more from the subscription perspective. So if you want wildfire analysis, you have to pay more. Simple. That's like a yearly subscription or, you know, so, 2 years, 3 years, you can buy the outright subscription and accordingly your license will be enabled for that.
So Akhil, like, these firewalls are pretty much the same, like, as other vendors are providing, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing special other than some fancy terms they are using for their, like, terminology.
It's not like that. See, see at the base, right? The common things like stateful inspection, VPN, these are all open standards and everyone have to be supporting that. Okay, VPN, stateful inspection, UTM features. It's again more from the cost wise. It's more from the feature rich things like, I'm giving you 10 features all in one kind of thing, or sometimes performance related parameters. That's where these things really matter.
But that's what I'm saying, like, because all the new generation firewalls like Cisco, even Juniper, and Palo
Everyone
Alto.
is giving, yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
everyone
is
is
giving.
giving us the same UTM, like everything, right? Basically.
Correct,
So
correct.
yeah, so then
But
yeah.
then see, okay, you have heard of a firewall called uh force point NGFW?
No,
Yeah,
not
so
sure.
there is a NGFW from force point. It is not being used so much. It's not
Mhm.
so extensive as as a checkpoint or Palo Alto or Fortinets of the world, right? But
Mhm.
it's a firewall, and it will just give you the protection to one or two servers, your LAN networks and all that. It's fine. Even the
Okay.
same thing with Juniper also. Juniper
Just to
SRX.
support a key, like just
Yeah,
as a discussion. Okay.
yeah.
What I understand, the money, the budget is basically
Budget.
important.
Yes, of course.
Yes, the top priority, because we as an
Always.
administrator, no doubt, will definitely be pitching to our management based on the features, the security aspect. But again, ultimately, it's a
Yes,
budget. All right.
of
Yeah.
course, of
So
course.
if you see like the market which I've seen in Asia, in Middle especially, okay, the Sonic world has boomed it like anything in like last 10 years back and right, like
Yeah.
all,
So
or especially in the assembly market, since
assembly
it was
market.
so
Correct.
easy, like plug and play, and like
Yeah.
okay, and the basic feature which was required, like especially
Hmm.
why people used to use SMB companies, just to form like
Correct.
side-to-side VPN, those
Correct.
things.
Mhm.
Correct. 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 No, so see, that's what I'm saying. I can do a VPN in Palo Alto, Checkpoint Firewall, 40, whatever, and I can do it in Sophos, Sonic Wall as well. So these are
Mhm.
some basic features that all the firewall will support, even Juniper SRX or whichever Cisco. But it's my point, like let's say I only have a particular limited fund, and in that fund I cannot buy the best of the firewalls. So I will settle maybe with the niche players quadrant firewall I showed you last day. That's how
Mhm.
it really works, to be very frank. And
Yeah.
see it, like with everything, right? You buy a car, right? And if you go with top models like Mercedes or something, you will get a lot of features along with the car. But if you go for a very basic small car kind of thing, then you of course you get a car, but then the features are also limited, right? That may not be so much safe. So those things matter the same way in the firewall as well. Okay, so here is the console login. So we just use the NJ-admin over here because this was the login that we created. Okay, and the password is also NJ-admin, and it is asking me for the server IP as well. So I'm going to put 192.168.8.1, which is my firewall or management server in our case for now. Okay, so I'm going to use that and I'm going to log in. This is how it connects to the management server. Always the smart console connects to the management server always. Okay, and then it will take you to that same console I showed you last day. Same way you can write your rules, your policies, create objects, network stuff and all that, right? Simple. So everything related to policy, any changes, any new addition, deletion, any new objects that you want to create, of course, VPNs, everything, you have to come here and do it. Other ways, like if you want to configure network interfaces and stuff like that, you can go to the web UI, or you can do it through CLI also, SSH. Okay. So this is like the first time login. It is prompting you to check this fingerprint and all. It's fine. Just be with it. I mean, there's nothing technical to it right now. I'll show you where all these fingerprints and all reside for checking, but it's fine. You don't have to really do anything on that step. Just say proceed, and you will be able to connect to the server to write the rules or make any changes to the policy.
So how many basically people have registered for this training, checkpoint training?
Uh, I'll come to know very soon because today being the demo lecture, I'll come to know soon. But
Mhm.
we do have good audience, good number actually always. So all
Mhm.
my batches that have, I mean, good
Mhm.
number, I can say.
It's about 20.
For this, I don't know, but yes, we have close to 20 in our
Okay.
real case. Okay, so this is the console login finally, and this is where you can write all the rules and all. One thing that you note out here is once we log in, right, the IP address of 8.1 that I configured, right, will be there will be an object with that IP configured by default. Okay, so during the installation, the management server object is created during the installation by default. We don't have to go there and create a new object for that. Okay, and that is where, if you remember, I told you that one IP address is to be configured. Okay, so that's the reason, like, the management server object will be created by default during the installation of the management server, and that you can see once you log into the console. Other objects you'll have to create manually, add it manually as and when you require. In a whole lot of time. So from next class onwards, we'll be following our lab workbooks, okay? Standalone installation and then distributed one. So today we saw the standalone one. Distributed will first install the management server, then we'll install the firewall, we'll integrate both of them the same way, right? We'll see how all the configuration is required, routing is required, everything we'll see from next class onwards.
So from when we will be having the regular classes?
It will be Saturdays, Sundays, mostly 8
like-
to 10.
I mean, like
Weekends.
the day?
Sorry, Saturday, Sundays, weekends.
No, I mean the dates. I mean, so that will be from next.
Like from next
Started.
from next
Yeah,
week,
from next week. Yes, yes. So if you, whoever enrolls will be there. The details will be sent to them for the next Zoom link, everything. It's taking a lot of time. I don't know why. After launching application, it should open quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So here you see this object is already created by default. Okay. I never created it. So this is because whatever IP I used during the installation, right? 192.168.8.1. It is, and this one is more from the management perspective. Okay. But in my case, this is a management as well as a firewall, fine. But the management server object always is created by default. If you see this screen, you can just press escape. Okay. So this is the object that I was talking about. It is created by default during the installation for that same IP. Okay. But it is more, as I said, from the management perspective, it's a secondary thing that I have put this as a firewall as well. Okay. But all fine. No worries. So this is how, and then you can write your policies over here. So here you can see that's a management server, network policy management and logging and status, right? And because this is a firewall as well, there is firewall. I can enable IPsec, I can enable URL, content awareness, I can enable threat prevention, threat emulation, threat extraction that I was talking about. So these are called blades, okay, checkpoint blades. if I have got a subscription for that blade, I can enable it. Otherwise, it will not work. But yeah, we'll see all this slowly and gradually. Don't worry. Okay. So this is how you log into your console. This is how you can install your console and all that stuff. Simple. Any questions?
No, thanks, Akhil.
Okay, great. Then I hope all of you will enroll and let us see. Okay, let us meet next week again. Okay. I hope no one has any queries. I can wait for a minute or so if you have any queries. Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone in this case. Okay.
Thanks, Akhil.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Take care. See you next week.
Thank you, Akhil. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.